Welcome to We Are Carroll, a service of the Community Foundation of Carroll County. I'm your host, Kayla Selinsky. Today, we speak with Deborah Yon, founder of Positive Alternatives to Dangerous and Destructive Decisions, or PAD. We learn how to keep our community safe from drunk and impaired drivers. We also learn how PAD works with the Community Foundation of Carroll County. To learn more about PAD, visit padd.org. Remember, you can learn more about the Community Foundation of Carroll County on our website, wearecarroll.org. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Deborah Lee Yan. I go by Debbie. I am the manager, CEO, the dreamer of having a company called PAD, Positive Alternatives to Dangerous and Destructive Decisions.
What is the history of PAD?
So I was a trauma nurse forever and ever. Back in 1992, my cousin's little boy was killed by a drunk driver while playing in his backyard. She was a 20-year-old young woman, and her passenger was just shy of 18. And the passenger was fine. The driver, they took to jail. The passenger came to trauma. We had to put her face back on, but relatively a minor injury, right? It was a holiday weekend, so I had to call work and say, look, I'm not calling in sick, but I can't take care of this girl because I can't even explain how traumatic that event was. I had worked a 12-hour shift, got a call from my cousin. She said, Ryan's dead. You need to come up. And I went up, and as we get to the house, there was a car almost through the house. It was just shy of going through the patio door. And underneath it was a little yellow sheet. And I said to my husband, a drunk driver. I can tell you that already. And it was. The girl went to jail for 2.5 years. She did ribbons for red ribbons for MAD for a while. And the day we buried Ryan, I said to my cousin, I'm never going to let people forget him. He was such a sweet little boy. And that's how it really went from just being at the trauma center and working bedside and running an injury prevention program there to I went to meet with the vice president. And I said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to take what we're doing on the road. He's like, no, we can't be responsible for you. Form a LLC and do a nonprofit and I'll help you. So with the help of him, we were able to get it all together. I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about business, right? So we got it together. We started working down in St. Mary's and then Harford County. And besides people coming to the trauma center for a program that we managed and started, we started going around the state. And that's how it really started. It was a desire to keep another mom from burying her child. Yeah, I survived a drunk driving crash as a teenager, and the driver died, and she was my best friend. And I didn't know she had been drinking all night. She was bubbly. She seemed normal. I got into her car at 11 o'clock. We went driving around because that's what you did back in the late 70s, 1979, and ended up in a crash at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they didn't get me out till 4. Took 2 hours. Yeah. So my desire is, I truly believe we can prevent crashes. Not all of them, but many of them. Alcohol, now marijuana. People think you can, because you have a medical card, you can get your marijuana and drive a car. That is not true. You cannot drive impaired. So my mission has been to prevent other families from the heartache of losing someone, to prevent a husband and wife from losing one another or their children. And over the years, you can imagine how many people I've sat with as they've taken their last breath. And at that point, you're not taking care of the patient, you're taking care of the families. And they all say, or they all have said over the years, I wish they could see my child and understand what happened here. Or I wish they could know my husband's story. So I started gathering that data and those stories and putting it into a 3-hour class. And we're at the point in our organization where I think we need to go up to 4 hours because we have so much information. We take people from the scene of a crash with a crash reconstructionist to an EMT paramedic to trauma nurses to people that have been affected by drinking, driving, speeding, inattention, talking on a phone. I have one speaker who is a psychologist who looked at her phone for a brief second and hit the back end of another car, pushing it out into traffic. And that man was killed. and she was charged. And I'll never forget when her lawyer called me. She said she is a good person, or he said, she's a good person. She's really destroyed by this event. Do you think you could help her? So we started working with her, and it went from being court ordered to work with us to now it's how God took her mission, her pain, her destruction, her story, the mess that it was, and turned it into beauty. And she is phenomenal. We have crash reconstructionists that can tell you everything from the algebra it takes to map out this crash to what could have been done differently. And when people hear that, they come to us, they're angry, they're spending money, they're upset, they're doing another class. We consistently hear, I wish I had taken this years ago. I wish this was in all the driver's ed programs. I wish for other people to take this class and learn before something happens.
Wow.
So that's really our mission, is to keep people from feeling the pain and the suffering. When you think of a traumatic crash, you're not only talking about being in a trauma center, you're talking about recovery. You're talking about the bills that mount up. I mean, can you imagine how much money you spend? $300,000 is easy to just spend. And if you owe 10% of that, that's a lot, especially in this economy, for people to bear.
Mhm.
So that's why we do it. And it's not just me, it's a whole team of us.
When did you start working with the Community Foundation of Carroll County?
Oh gosh, it started with another project. I had wrote a book about saying goodbye to daddy going to war for my 5-year-old. And they took that project and they managed it and did all the stuff that I had no idea what to do with. We did a couple media blitzes with, oh gosh, I can't remember, Good Morning America and lots of other little local stations, Fox 45. We raised a good bit of money. We sold a lot of books. We had 1,000, and I think we sold 700, where we gave a lot away to military families. We used that money to help wounded warriors. And the one that we adopted one year was a young man. Gosh, he was really a kid who had been blown up, and there was not much left of him. And we were able to give him just a little bit, but it was a lot to them. Do you know what I mean? And then we put together these popcorn tins with a gift certificate and some munchies to watch movies with your families when you get home. That's what we did. We worked with Walter Reed a little bit to see if we could use the book to get people to start talking. And as that started, then that whole debacle with the system started. And I'm not sure whatever happened to that project, but it served its purpose. I retired the book. We actually did another one on PTSD, but the Community Foundation handled everything. They were amazing, from sending books out to giving me phone calls, handling the money to send out gifts, or we purchased gifts, that kind of thing. I couldn't have done it without them because I was a full-time mom, full-time with 3 children and a husband at war. So it was hard.
What inspired you to write that book?
The first one was because, your husband's going away to war, and as a mom and as a wife, you have to support the troops, right? So we would have these family meetings, which they were painful because here you're overwhelmed. I mean, I'm running 3 children around the clock all over the community, and they wanted us to keep doing one more thing, and it was hard. And then there's the bickering between the group. I wasn't ready for all that, and I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do. My goal is to help people, and we did the little bit that we could to help people. The Community Foundation, without them, I couldn't have done it because there was no way. And with PAD, it's even more amazing because I was busy doing all the CEO work, all the bookkeeping, all the check writing, and you're burning the candle on both ends. Plus, I'm still working at a hospital, just part-time, but it's a full-time job. It was crazy. And they said, well, we'll take all that paperwork from you and you can just put your nonprofit in one of our funds, which is kind of backwards because most people want a nonprofit. But my goal is not to make a ton of money. My goal is to use what we're creating here to help other people. So one thing that we've done is I just recovered from breast cancer. And people don't think about medical staff that need help. So there was a core group of people that I knew about that couldn't work at the hospital anymore. Your disability kind of is not enough to pay your bills. It doesn't help as much. So we started sending out checks. And then I adopted a nurse who she just destroys my heart. She's dying of breast cancer. Maybe she'll live a year, maybe she'll live two, I don't know. But we try really hard to send her a really big donation every month so that she can use it to pay her medical insurance, pay her house payment, whatever she needs. And we don't need to know what she's doing with it. Another lady, we did the same for her, and it was food. She needed food for her. I think her child was 8 years old, and she didn't have food in the house. So let's send her a check. And then there's a housekeeper that we just sent money to. And we try to keep it in the scope of it's in Carroll County, and it's the forgotten heroes. Nobody thinks about them needing money. A CNA, a housekeeper, you don't make that much money to begin with. Nurses make fairly good money, but it's not enough to pay these bills. I mean, these bills that you get are staggering.
What inspires you? How did you get to be the way you are?
I've dealt with a lot of trauma in my life, starting in my childhood. And I always thought if I could make it better, it would be worth it. Your pain, your suffering is somebody else's story to kind of adapt and mold and create a positive out of a negative. So surviving the drunk driving crash, I didn't walk for a year. I was really, really sick and broken. Nobody should have to live like that. It's preventable. I wish to this day I'd said to Susie, give me your keys. You're not driving. And it's everybody's reality when you're in that car to make a difference. If you're in a car with somebody that you find out is impaired when you're driving down the road, get them to stop. I used to tell teenagers, all you need to do is say, I'm going to throw up, and they're going to stop. They're going to let you out of the car because they don't want to throw up in their car, especially boys.
Do you have any events coming up for PAD?
Oh, we have some classes coming up. We're running an class around the clock right now for people that have court. Like I just had a call for a court on Monday. We teach, so we're all constantly teaching.
Well, if someone wants to find out more about PAD, where do they go?
Go to our website, pad.org, and then it'll take you to our website. You can see what classes we have. The nice thing is we're educating them before they go to court. We're challenging them to write a letter, an essay. What are you going to change? How are you going to do different? And we're encouraging that with people.
So do you have a specific staff member that makes you smile?
Oh, it'd be hard to narrow it down to just one. We have a very creative staff. Everybody does this on their own time. They're getting paid to speak because we don't use volunteers, but the stories they share, some of them will shake you. And you think, oh my gosh, how many times have I driven that road? Or how many times have I said to my child, it's okay, go out and play with so-and-so. And then something tragic happens. All of my speakers take that negative and turn it into a positive. I have a mom who lost her 13-year-old daughter who was married to well, they were divorced by then, but with a trooper. And her daughter was killed by a drunk driver at 3 o'clock in the morning going to do a farmer's market. She was volunteering for the day. And when she shares her story, I sometimes have to walk away because I still cry. I get emotional.
Wow.
And she's been doing this now. Oh gosh, 20 years. We started working with her as soon as her daughter passed. She's left a big legacy.
And then do you have any staff at the Community Foundation of Carroll County that you work with directly?
I work with all of them. They're all amazing. All of them, they make such a difference. And, sometimes I'll go in and we'll talk, and sometimes they will have just met with a family that lost somebody. And sometimes I can bounce some things off of them and try to help them process what they just learned. So it's like a give and take of a relationship. I absolutely love that office. Amazing people, really.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. It's nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the We Are Carroll Project. To hear more episodes, please visit wearecarroll.org. That's wearecarroll.org. Talk to you next time.